Well, I was going to say the best new show that no one's talking about, but this is currently the #1 series on Netflix, and for good reason. I finally finished it. It's never too late. Let's talk about it. What's up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to the channel. This is my review of Baby Reindeer, a series that I enjoyed for a variety of reasons. Cannot wait to talk about it. Let's do it.
I really don't know where it's gonna end.
Based on a compelling true story, this follows writer and performer Richard's warped relationship with his female stalker and the impact it has on him as he is ultimately forced to face a dark, deep, buried trauma. Now again, based on a true story. So Richard plays Donny, Martha is played by Jessica Gunning, and this series is definitely rated TV mature. There's a lot of sex and nudity and language, a little bit of violence, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't know a lot about Richard Gadd, the actor. I knew of him as the writer. Sex Education is one of those projects that he's worked on, and you could see and tell that he had a great comedic mind, but in this series, not just veering into comedy, but multiple genres, and having to balance something like that in the vein of what Beef did last year. I actually won't take credit for that. Somebody on my Twitter, I believe, compared it to Beef, and I'm like, okay, that's absolutely brilliant. A very different show, very different topics that we're dealing with, but balancing humor and a little bit of horror. I mean, yeah, it's a dark comedy. I've seen some people say, well, Austin, it's not all that funny, but this, at its core, is a bit of a tragic story about someone who is so unsure of who he wants to be. And we don't know that at the beginning of this story. We'll talk about the way they weave it together here in just a second. But our main character in Donny, he is indecisive, misunderstood, at times frustrating to watch because of the decision-making and how he's going about treating those in his life. I mean, Martha, obviously, she's the stalker. She's the crux of the story. But beyond her, others that have a huge impact on how we got here in the first place. And when we finally explore that, I believe 4 to 5 episodes in, and we get an idea as to why he is the man that he is today and why he is struggling so hard, not only with sexuality and relationships, but also who he is meant to be. And, you know, inevitably we get a moment 6 to 7 episodes in where he has to come to terms with the fact that he is in this position because of the decisions that he's made, but also because he's allowed other people to take advantage of him physically and mentally. So this is a character that goes through the ringer as we are watching this show, and it's not necessarily one that's going to make you feel good as a viewer, but being a character who literally gets on stage and sets out to make people laugh and just wants to be seen in that way, but also feeling unworthy of being in that position in the first place, not only because of how he got there, but because of the other people that have taken advantage of him. It's not just a story about a stalker. It's not just what you expected this show to be on its surface. It is a deep and in-depth character study of someone who has been through so much and is now facing a separate problem that seems to be what this story is on its surface, but it goes so much deeper than that. And I may have just babbled, but my God, Baby Reindeer had me thinking about all of those things and being able to relate to some of those moments in his life where they are somewhat heartbreaking on their surface, but once you realize how he got there, you understand him a bit more as a character. And again, this is coming from a 7-episode short series about a comedian who is being stalked by someone that he met in a bar. But the fact that it's able to go that much deeper makes it that much more interesting and creates not one character, but multiple characters that have really incredible arcs as we go along. And Martha is everything that I did not expect her to be going in. I thought this was going to be a one-dimensional character. She's clearly obsessed with something about this guy, and so she'll go to the ends of the earth just to be in the midst of his presence. And while that is true, she goes beyond that. She knows how to do what she's doing. She's calculated because she's done it before, so she understands how to get away with it. But when he finally snaps, when he finally breaks and decides to do something about it, she may be a little more calculated than even you expected after a couple of episodes. So it's so interesting to see that back and forth, that cat and mouse chase that goes on through the first few episodes. Then we take a break from that, and that's when we start to learn more about him, who he is, why he is there, and how he got this Martha problem in the first place, but Martha is something that is always there and continues to linger in the background throughout this show. I thought she was handled so excellently in the way that they would weave in those texts that she would send and spelling words wrong and typing such incorrect grammar to where you almost feel bad for Martha in a way until she does something that's so outlandish and you're thinking, how could someone actually do that to someone else, going as far as calling his parents, maybe attacking someone that he's in a relationship with, all because of her obsession, the latest obsession in a long line of obsessions, and the way that they handled her by giving her just enough to where you have that, oh man, I kind of feel bad for her, but then 5 minutes later you're like, all right, Donnie, get out of there, buddy. You better get out of there, man. And throughout portions of the show, Donnie is in a couple of relationships, Terry being one of those characters, and I really liked how they explored the sexual side of Donnie, the insurity within that, and that's an aspect of his character that plays so heavily in the show that I wasn't expecting in the beginning, and when Terry comes along, changes his life for the better, he doesn't know how to approach that or handle that, and all of these things lingering in the background, in the back of his mind, and what that relationship ultimately means for him, but how it's so new and fresh, and he's wondering, am I gay, am I bi, am I straight, I don't know, how do I figure that out? Questions lingering in his mind while he's trying to deal with this one thing, this woman that is stalking him. It's a guy who just wants to be funny, but nothing about what's going on in his life is funny, unless you have a really dark sense of humor. And then you may find his struggle and pain funny, but I found this dark comedy to be less comedic. I mean, there are parts where it is comedic, but the darkness and dramatic portions of his life and how this is such a fascinating biopic in a way, but a man who continually struggles with all of these things and how it explores that, how it uses cinematography and shot selection and montages. Throughout these episodes, there are a couple of montages when he first gets his big break, and really that whole episode in general is kind of a montage with a voiceover, but it's handled so well. It looks beautiful. The look and feel, the lighting of this show, the cinematography, how the eerie nature of some moments are made even more eerie by the filmmaking, how the music will cut out and you'll get those moments where it's just you and our main character or Martha kind of lingering in the background. And I thought the filmmaking for this show was so beautiful, but it also accentuated and brought out those deeper and especially darker moments. And obviously the writing, Richard Gadd, he's telling his story, so the way that he approaches it is interesting and not telling it in order. We don't start at the beginning and end at the end. We're kind of all over the place at times, but it makes sense for the most part. I do believe there were some opportunities to make it feel a bit more streamlined than it actually was, but it never took me out of it again because the length of the episode's only 30 to 45 minutes long. The pacing was really nice all the way throughout, so the writing was great, and those performances just across the board, especially Jessica Gunning and how she is absolutely terrifying at points. You see her at the beginning, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to feel the horror and the fear, but you do by the final episode, and the fact that he can do nothing about it. He tries to go to the police, that doesn't work. He tries to tell other people, that doesn't work. So what does he do? She's figured it all out. She knows how to get around every single thing that he throws at her. It is brilliantly told, but again, it's based on a true story, so not a lot here seems to be made up, and that to me is scary. You want to know what the best part of the show was, though? I did not see anything coming. Every twist, every turn, every decision he made, every monologue that he would spew out on stage, I never knew what was coming next.
You didn't see that coming.
And it managed to, for the most part, surprise me at almost every turn. When a series can do that, keep you as invested as it does, make you really uncomfortable in moments. We're dealing with very serious themes here, so it's definitely not for the faint of heart, but ultimately, it's worth it because you are so invested in this story that is fascinating. If you can't tell, I love this series. I really enjoyed my time.
I like it a lot.
Before I give you my score, let me know down below, did you think Baby Reindeer worked for you? Was it too twisted and traumatic, or did you find it to be a right balance. And if you enjoy this video, you want to drop a like, that would be awesome. Baby Reindeer is outstanding television. What is much more than a series about a stalker, Richard Gadd manages to deliver an engrossing and exceptional exploration of our main character. As it goes from comedic to dark and often traumatic, the writing manages to keep us on track through the various and unexpected twists. It had me captivated until the final scene. I don't know why this worked so well for me, maybe because I wasn't expecting it, but I'm glad I had the opportunity to talk about it with you all and use this comment section as your place and space to just talk about this show, what worked, what didn't work. Appreciate you again for watching. I want to talk about Shogun, so maybe we'll do that this evening because the finale dropped today. Stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next video.